Hello. I'm going to quickly explain the main findings from our evaluation of the Together and Active Future project using population level data. So the headline finding, that since the start of the project, the TaAF intervention areas have done better in their levels of physical inactivity compared with local authorities with similar characteristics. While this is good news and suggests that the TaAF program may be having a positive effect, unfortunately, we cannot be very confident in this claim as the uncertainty around this is large. So to illustrate this, our best guess is that the effect of the TaAF project has been a 2 percentage point decrease in physical inactivity. However, the 95% confidence intervals around this are large and range between a decrease as big as 4.6% and actually an increase of 0.7%. So given this, it is essential that we continue to monitor the situation as data is collected. Firstly, to look at future trends, but with more data, we will also be able to be more precise in our estimate of the effect of the Together and Active Future project. So to dig a little deeper into the results and with reference to the graph on the screen, how we went about doing this was to use the Active Lives survey data, a nationally representative survey with a large number of people self-reporting physical activity in England. And we use a method called difference in differences, where we look at the change from before to after the TaAF intervention in the TaAF areas and compare this to change over the same time in a control group of areas. And these control group are ideally as similar as possible to the Together and Active Future areas. So if we make the assumption that the trends in physical activity would be the same in the TaAF areas and the control areas if TaAF had simply not happened, then we can attribute the difference between these changes to the effect of the Together and Active Future program. So clearly, to make this assumption relies on using methods to create similar as control groups as possible. So, for example, we know that trends during the pandemic have been different in more and less deprived local authorities. So the control group needs to have a similar level as deprivation as possible. And we also control for things like age structure and ethnicity, and how urban and rural the areas are. So the results of this analysis is what's displayed on the graph. The first two data points are before the start of the intervention, before the start of the TaAF project, while the final three are after it has started. And we can see that the differences for the three data points after the TaAF intervention are all negative. So negative is a good thing because we're measuring physical inactivity here, not physical activity. That's an important thing to say. So declining physical inactivity is good. And this allows us to conclude that the TaAF areas have done better. Note that this doesn't necessarily mean that absolute levels of physical inactivity have declined. So, for example, during the pandemic, levels of physical inactivity unfortunately increased everywhere. So, in this case, for example, let's take the year 2020, where we know that levels of physical inactivity increased in both the TaAF areas and in the control group. What the minus 1.5 means is a relative decline in the TaAF areas. So it's saying that the TaAF areas increased their levels of physical inactivity by 1.5 percentage points less than the control areas. Nevertheless, this is an effect that we are attributing to the Together and Active Future project. So I guess finally, to reiterate the point about uncertainty, we can see that on this graph, all of the confidence intervals overlap zero. It's getting quite close in 2021, but this suggests that there is large uncertainty, and our confidence, our evidence which suggests that TaAF is working isn't particularly strong. Nevertheless, the potential effect size could be quite meaningful. So if there really was an effect of 2 percentage points, that would be equivalent to an extra 10,000 people, I think 10 to 12,000 people who were no longer physically inactive in Pennine, Lancashire, which would be a non-negligible achievement. So given how important this kind of thing is to know, it's really important to carry on monitoring the data as it comes out, particularly because more data will be able to make us more confident about any claims that we can make. Thank you very much for listening.